of the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, during our short stay in power, have demonstrated openly what many people had only suspected before, namely, that the holding of office in government in this country had in almost all cases been used to plunder the wealth of the nation. Ghana is looking up to you. Thank you.
Country Ghana played its modest role towards the inauguration of this organization 25 years ago. The passion of our visionary first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, for continental unity is unforgettable. A united Africa provided for him the only assurance of real independence for us and sovereignty over our vast natural resources. For his vision and passion, he became a prime target for the enemies of Africa. With his view that the independence of Ghana is meaningless without the total liberation of Africa, Dr. Nkrumah subordinated the independence of Ghana to the struggle for the liberation of the whole continent. He paid the price for his visionary zeal and boldness. But his speech on this very rostrum 25 years ago not only touched the hearts of Africa's youth, it still provides the agenda for our continent's liberation. Long live the AU. May God bless us all. Thank you.
It is only by collective effort that the nation's problems can be solved. There are still some people who would like the nation to go back to childhood. But we are grown up, or should be. We're supposed to be old enough to realize that the nation is now paying the rest of the outstanding bill for those easier days when so many of our resources were squandered.
Very fast race again. I can see Arthur Austin running very hard. Behind him we have Chairman Rawlings, but who is going to be first? Kofi Jin is also running very hard. A few of them running neck and neck. Arthur Austin is leaving them behind, and that's Arthur Austin breaking the tape, followed by Kofi Jin and Chairman Rawlings in that order.
Know your background as a sportsman.
I have to give up smoking.
You've taken smoking.
I have to give up smoking. It's cut down on my stamina.
And that's over. We come to the finals of the football matches, and this is between teams A and B, made up of PNDC members and PNDC secretaries all mixed up. Now you can see the team A players playing from right to left, team B playing from left to right. That's Chairman Rawlings patting down everybody who comes his way and stopping him there. I can see somebody telling Chairman Rawlings why he should pull up. Decides to go, but the second part of the lancing, this time we'll be attempting to pick pegs which have been fixed on the field, and Chairman Rawlings has collected his nicely, wraps it and throws it down. Enjoying themselves as they watch this lancing game at the Accra Sports Stadium as part of the activities marking the 6th anniversary of the Guildford celebration. This is musical chairs, a game of musical chairs, a game with 9 competitors on horseback fighting for 8 chairs. And the idea is, as soon as the music stops, there they go again. Nobody knows when the music will stop. And the music stopped there. A scramble for a chair. Chairman Rawlings gets one, and he is very lucky so far. Perhaps I shouldn't say very lucky, fighting hard for the chairs. Because we really have to fight in order to get one. Awesome. Horsemanship, skill, alertness. See who will get the last. There we go. Music still being provided. There we go around. And easy one for Chairman Rawlings again. And he has won the musical chairs game. And then he gives a hug to the...
This country is not going back. She's moving only forward. When we took over the reins of the economy, ladies and gentlemen, also, places like that were dead. AGC was producing what? Half or one-third the current volume. One-third the current volume. We have triple AGC's goals. When we started off with nothing but one thing, the truth and integrity. The truth and integrity. And this is what has brought this country out of the darkness. Now that we are beginning to see the light, with the responsibility and the duty of accomplishing what we set out to do we want to see the clock turn back? Do we want to see the clock turn back?
Hello and welcome to Info XYZ. Today we will be taking an in-depth look into the life and history of the late great Jerry John Rawlings. A man that has not only set the pace for good governance in Ghana alone but has also helped influence good leadership and governance around the world. Before we go any deeper, I would like you to comment down below, share, like and subscribe to this channel to get all the latest information available from news, entertainment, educational videos, financial tips, and so much more. Jerry John Rawlings was born Jerry Rawlings John on June 22, 1947 in Accra, Ghana, to Victoria Agbatui, a new from Jalukope, Kita, and James Ramsay John, a chemist from Castle Douglas in Kirkcudbright Shire, Scotland. James Ramsay John's descendants now live in Newcastle and London. Rawlings attended Achimota School and a military academy at Teshi. Rawlings was married to Nana Kanadu Aguman, who he met while at Achimota College. They had 3 daughters: Senator Rawlings, Yasintiwa Rawlings, Amina Rawlings, and 1 son, Kamathi Rawlings. Rawlings finished his secondary education at Achimota College in 1967. Where he joined the Ghana Air Force shortly afterwards. On his application, the military switched his surname John and his middle name Rawlings. In March 1968, he was posted to Takoradi, in Ghana's western region, to continue his studies. He graduated in January 1969, and was commissioned as a pilot officer, winning the coveted Speedbird Trophy as the best cadet in flying the Su-7 ground attack supersonic jet aircraft, as he was skilled in aerobatics.
The Speedbird Trophy went to Lieutenant J.J. Rawlings for being the best Air Force cadet of the flying training school.
He earned the rank of flight lieutenant in April 1978. During his service with the Ghana Air Force, Rawlings perceived a deterioration in discipline and morale due to corruption in the Supreme Military Council, SMC. As promotion brought him into contact with the privileged classes and their social values, his view of the injustices in society hardened. He was thus regarded with some unease by the SMC. After the 1979 coup, he involved himself with the student community of the University of Ghana, where he developed a more leftist ideology through reading and discussion of social and political ideas. Rawlings grew discontented with Ignatius Kutu Acheampong's government, which had come to power through a coup in January 1972. Acheampong was accused not only of corruption, but also of maintaining Ghana's dependency on pre-colonial powers that led to economic decline and impoverishment. Rawlings was part of the Free Africa movement, an underground movement of military officers who wanted to unify Africa through a series of coups. On May 15, 1979, 5 weeks prior to civilian elections, Rawlings and 6 other soldiers staged a coup against the government of General Fred Akufo, but failed and was arrested by the Ghanaian military. Rawlings was publicly sentenced to death in a general court-martial and imprisoned, although his statements on the social injustices that motivated his actions won him civilian sympathy. While awaiting execution, Rawlings was sprung from custody on June 4, 1979 by a group of soldiers. Claiming that the government was corrupt beyond redemption and that new leadership was required for Ghana's development, he led the group in a coup to oust the Akufo government and Supreme Military Council. Shortly afterwards, Rawlings established and became the chairman of a 15-member Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, AFRC, primarily composed of junior officers. He and the AFRC ruled for 112 days and arranged the execution by firing squad of 8 military officers, including Generals Kodai, Joyamidum, Roger Feli, and Utuka, as well as the 3 former heads of state, Afrifa, Achampong, and Akufo. The executions were dramatic events in Ghana history, which had suffered few instances of political violence. Rawlings later implemented a much wider house-cleaning exercise involving the killings and abduction of over 300 Ghanaians. Elections were held on time shortly after the coup. On September 24, 1979, power was peacefully handed over by Rawlings to President Hilla Lyman, whose People's National Party, PNP, had the support of Nkrumah's followers. 2 years later, Rawlings ousted President Hilla Lyman in a coup d'état on December 31, 1981, claiming that civilian rule was weak and the country's economy was deteriorating. The killings of the Supreme Court justices, Cecilia Koranteng Adao, Frederick Sarkodie, and Kwajo Agyei Agyepong, military officers Major Sam Akwa and Major Dasana Nantigma also occurred during the second military rule of Rawlings. However, unlike the 1979 executions, these people were abducted and killed in secret, and it is unclear who was behind their murders, though Joaquim Amarte Ikwe and 4 others were convicted of 4 of these murders, which involved all 3 justices and Akwa, and were executed in 1982. Believing the Lyman regime to be unable to resolve Ghana's neo-colonial economic dependency, Rawlings led a second coup against Lyman and indicted the entire political class on December 31, 1981. In place of Lyman's People's National Party, Rawlings established the Provisional National Defense Council, PNDC, military junta as the official government. Although the PNDC claimed to be representative of the people, it lacked experience in the creation and implementation of clear economic policies. Rawlings, like many of his predecessors, attributed current economic and social problems to the trade malpractices and other anti-social activities of a few business people. In December 1982, the PNDC announced its 4-year economic program of establishing a state monopoly on export-import trade with the goal of eliminating corruption surrounding import licenses and shift trade away from dependency on Western markets. Unrealistic price controls were imposed on the market and enforced through coercive acts, especially against business people. This resolve to employ state control over the economy is best demonstrated by the destruction of the Makola market. The PNDC established Workers' Defense Committees, WDCs, and People's Defense Committees, PDCs, to mobilize the population to support radical changes to the economy. Price controls on the sale of food were beneficial to urban workers, but placed undue burden on 70% of the rural population whose income largely depended on the prices of agricultural products. Rawlings' economic policies led to an economic crisis in 1983, forcing him to undertake structural adjustment and submit himself to election to retain power. Elections were held in January 1992, leading Ghana back to multi-party democracy. 1992 elections. Rawlings established the National Commission on Democracy, NCD, shortly after the 1982 coup, and employed it to survey civilian opinion and make recommendations that would facilitate the process of democratic transition. In March 1991, the NCD released a report recommending the election of an executive president, the establishment of a National Assembly, and the creation of a Prime Minister post. The PNDC used NCD recommendations to establish a committee for the drafting of a new constitution based on past Ghanaian constitutions, that lifted the ban on political parties in May 1992 after it was approved by referendum. On November 3, 1992, election results compiled by the INEC from 200 constituencies showed that Rawlings NDC had won 60% of the votes, and had obtained the majority needed to prevent a second round of voting. More specifically, the NDC won 62% in the Brong-Ahafo region, 93% in the Volta region, and majority votes in Upper West, Upper East, Western, Northern, Central, and Greater Accra regions. His opponents Professor Adu Bohan won 31% of the votes, former President Hilla Lyman won 6.8%, Kwabena Darko won 2.9%, and Emmanuel Erskine won 1.7%. Voter turnout was 50%. The ability of opposition parties to compete was limited by the vast advantages Rawlings possessed. Rawlings' victory was aided by the various party structures that were integrated into society during his rule, called the Organs of the Revolution. These structures included the Committees for the Defense of the Revolution, CDRs, Commando Units, December 31st Women's Organization, the June 4th Movement, People's Militias, and Mobi Squads, and operated on a system of popular control through intimidation. He had a monopoly over national media, and was able to censor print and electronic media through a PNDC newspaper licensing decree, PNDC Law 221. Moreover, Rawlings imposed a 20,000 cedis, about $400, cap on campaign contributions, which made national publicity of opposition parties virtually impossible. Rawlings himself began campaigning before the official unbanning of political parties and had access to state resources and was able to effectively meet all monetary demands required of a successful campaign. Rawlings traveled across the country, initiating public works projects and giving public employees a 60% pay rise prior to the election day. Opposition parties objected to the election results, citing incidences of vote stuffing in regions where Rawlings was likely to lose and rural areas with scant populations, as well as a bloated voters' register and a partisan electoral commission. However, the Commonwealth Observer Group, led by Sir Ellis Clarke, approved of the election as free and fair, as there were very few issues at polling stations and no major incidences of voter coercion. In contrast, the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, IFES, issued a report supporting claims that erroneous entries in voter registration could have affected election results. The Carter Center did acknowledge minor electoral issues but did not see these problems as indicative of systematic electoral fraud. Opposition parties boycotted subsequent Ghana parliamentary and presidential elections, and the unicameral National Assembly, of which NDC officials won 189 of 200 seats and essentially established a one-party parliament that lacked legitimacy and only had limited legislative powers. After the disputed election, the PNDC was transformed into the National Democratic Congress, NDC. Rawlings established the Economic Recovery Program, ERP, suggested by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund in 1982 due to the poor state of the economy after 18 months of attempting to govern it through administrative controls and mass mobilization. The policies implemented caused a dramatic currency devaluation, the removal of price controls and social service subsidies that favored farmers over urban workers, and privatization of some state-owned enterprises, and restraints on government spending. Funding was provided by bilateral donors, reaching $800 million in 1987 and 1988, and $900 million in 1989. Between 1992 and 1996, Rawlings eased control over the judiciary and civil society, allowing a more independent Supreme Court and the publication of independent newspapers. Opposition parties operated outside of Parliament and held rallies and press conferences. Rawlings took office on January 7, 1993, the same day that the new constitution came into effect, and the government became known as the Fourth Republic of Ghana. Given the various issues with the 1992 elections, the 1996 elections were a great improvement in terms of electoral oversight. Voter registration was recompiled, with close to 9.2 million voters registering at nearly 19,000 polling stations, which the opposition had largely approved after party agents had reviewed the lists. The emphasis on transparency led Ghanaian non-governmental organizations to create the Network of Domestic Election Observers, NEDIO, which trained nearly 4,100 local poll watchers. This organization was popular across political parties and civic groups. On the day of the election, more than 60,000 candidate agents monitored close to all polling sites, and were responsible for directly reporting results to their respective party leaders. The parallel vote tabulation system allowed polling sites to compare their results to the official ones released by the Electoral Commission. The Inter-Party Advisory Committee, IPAC, was established to discuss election preparations with all parties and the Electoral Commission, as well as establish procedures to investigate and resolve complaints. Presidential and parliamentary elections were held on the same day, and see-through boxes were used in order to further ensure the legitimacy of the elections. Despite some fears of electoral violence, the election was peaceful and had a 78% turnout rate, and was successful with only minor problems such as an inadequate supply of ink and parliamentary ballots. The two major contenders of the 1996 election were Rawlings' NDC, and John Kufuor's Great Alliance, an amalgamation of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, and the People's Convention Party, PCP. The Great Alliance based their platform on ousting Rawlings, and attacked the incumbent government for its poor fiscal policies. However, they were unable to articulate a clear positive message of their own, or plans to change the current economic policy. As Ghana was heavily dependent on international aid, local leaders had minimal impact on the economy. The Electoral Commission reported that Rawlings had won by 57%, with Kufuor obtaining 40% of the vote. Results by district were similar to those in 1992, with the opposition winning the Ashanti region and some constituencies in Eastern and Greater Accra, and Rawlings winning in his ethnic home, the Volta, and faring well in every other region. The NDC took 134 seats in the Assembly compared to the opposition's 66, and the NPP took 60 seats in the Parliament. Post-military. In accordance with his constitutional mandate, Rawlings' term in office ended in 2001. He retired in 2001 and was succeeded by John Agyekum Kufuor, his main rival and opponent in 1996. Kufuor succeeded in defeating Rawlings' Vice President John Atta Mills in 2000. In 2004, Mills conceded to Kufuor and Kufuor ran for another 4 years. In November 2000, Rawlings was named the first International Year of Volunteers 2001 eminent person by Union Secretary General Kofi Annan, attending various events and conferences to promote volunteerism. He established the Constitution of 1988. In October 2010, Rawlings was named African Union Envoy to Somalia. He gave lectures at universities, including Oxford University. Rawlings continued his heavy support for NDC. In July 2019, he went on a 3-day working trip to Burkina Faso in the capacity of chairman of the Thomas Sankara Memorial Committee. In September 2019, he paid a tribute on behalf of the President and people of Ghana, when he led a delegation to the funeral of Robert Mugabe, the late former president of Zimbabwe. Awards and honors. In October 2013, he was given an honorary degree, Doctorate of Letters, from the University for Development Studies in Northern Ghana. This award recognized Rawlings's contribution to the establishment of the university. In 1993, he used his $50,000 Hunger Project cash prize as seed money to sponsor the establishment of the state-owned university, founded in May 1992, the first of its kind in the 3 northern regions. In October 2013, he was given a Global Champion for People's Freedom Award by the Mkiva Humanitarian Foundation. Rawlings died on November 12, 2020 at Coral Bulletin Teaching Hospital in Accra, a week after being admitted for an undisclosed ailment. His death came nearly 2 months after that of his mother, Victoria Agbatui, on September 24, 2020. The President Nana Akufo-Addo declared a 7-day period of mourning in his honor and flags flown at half-mast. That's all there is for today. Remember to like, share, comment and subscribe to the channel for more videos. Stay safe and see you in our next video.